Okay, so we're just going to have a little look at our CBA number 2. And I am aware that some of the students were absent from class, from our live class during the week, and also perhaps some of your internet wasn't great as well and you weren't able to hear me very clearly. So I've decided just to put a few little points together on how to fill in your brief sheet, which is due tomorrow at 1:10. So if there are any issues with that, please just drop me a personal email. Okay, right, so we're going to start off here on our first page. So as I requested in Google Classroom during the week, I said on Monday, if you could have your sheet printed out and a pen beside you to take some notes before our live class, it would be of great benefit. So you could take down some notes. So here we have it now on the recording. So starting here at the top, we're starting off with our brief. So the brief is basically the task that you have picked out of the hat. So there are 3 tasks. So 1 is sustainable practice. 2 is the stages of the life cycle. And 3 is special diets. So you have picked one of those. So if you're not sure which one you have, then you need to get in contact with your teacher before you complete this brief, because the brief must be specific to the task that you have picked. Okay, it's not a general brief, it's specific to the task that you have. So in the first box here, you literally write out word for word your brief. Okay, now number 1, defining the task or the problem. So this is where you put your brief that you picked into your own words. So the first one is on sustainable practice. So you may say there, my brief is relative to sustainable and responsible living and how to make sustainable choices when we are selecting food and managing food. I must use my skills by preparing, cooking and serving a nutritious lunch, and I must prepare and serve a suitable accompaniment to go alongside. I must then complete a written evaluation. Okay, so you're writing out your definition or your task or your problem there in your own words. What is it that you must research? What is it that you must do? And what is it that you must evaluate? So for each of these briefs, there are 3 main elements. There's a researching element. Once you've researched it, then there's a preparing and in some cases a cooking and a serving element. You don't all have to cook everything. For example, in task 1, you just prepare and serve a suitable accompaniment. It does not have to be cooked. And then the third part is your evaluation. So that's they're the 3 main elements to your task. Now, number 2, what are the key requirements of the brief? So the first requirement will be to research something. So it will either be to research sustainable practices in relation to selecting and managing food. In number 2, it will probably be to research the nutritional requirements of a specific stage of the life cycle. So that could be children, it could be adolescents, it could be adults, it could be elderly, or it could be convalescents. And the third task, it would be to research a special diet in relation to a food allergy or food intolerance, for example, lactose intolerant. And then the third bullet point would be to complete a written evaluation. So they're the 3 requirements, the key requirements: to research something, to prepare, cook and serve something, or prepare and serve something, or 2 things, depending on your task, and then to carry out an evaluation. So they're the 3 key requirements, and you need to have them specific to your chosen brief. Now, number 3, the relevant factors I must consider. So what factors do I need to consider before I decide what I am going to make? So the first thing is going to be, and you all will have this, is that it must meet the brief. You cannot make, for example, if it says prepare a nutritious lunch, you cannot go making a 3-course meal for that, because it's not a nutritious lunch. Or you couldn't make pizza and deep fried chips, because that wouldn't be nutritious. So you must fulfill the requirements of your brief. So that's the first thing you will have there, and you'll all have that. What I make must suit the brief. Okay, and then you can expand on that yourself. It must have X, it must have Y. The second thing relating to your brief is that it must represent a sustainable practice or sustainable living, if it's number one, or it must represent one stage of the life cycle. And here you can say what your stage, your chosen stage is. Is it adolescence? Is it adults, or whatever? And for the third task, you would say there, it must represent a food intolerance or food allergy, for example, and you would state it there. Because in the next section, you're going to research that. Now, the third thing then that you would pick out, so the first 2 or 3 points would be relative to it must fit my brief. And this is how it must fit my specific brief. It must show this, it must show this, it must show this. Now, then other points you would put here in number 3 are it must... the ingredients must be available locally. If it's a sustainable living one, you might consider what ingredients or what vegetables or what fruits are available at this time of year. You would research things like you must consider the cost, you must consider the time that you have 1.5 hours to prepare and cook and serve the dish or the dishes. So you would consider time, what ingredients are available to you locally, you would consider what facilities and what equipment you would have available to you. And a very important thing that you would consider here, third years, is that you would consider your level of skill. Your level of skill should reflect third year standard, but yet it wouldn't have to be very, very difficult dish to make. You need to have a certain amount of skills, and it needs to be representative of a certain amount of skills, and you need to challenge yourself. However, it doesn't need to have a massive degree of difficulty. Now, number 4 is an interesting part because this is research to support my brief. And this is where you will look up websites, you will look up recipes, you will look up any information that you possibly can about your brief. So if it's the sustainable practice one, you might look up about food miles. You might look up about what foods are in season at the minute on the Board BIA website. You will find that. You might look up organic foods and what they mean. What's a quality assurance mark? You might look up there maybe about corn-fed eggs and free-range eggs. You might look up what vegetables or fruits are grown in your garden and include photographs. You might look up here, what other websites, the stopfoodwaste.ie website, and have some facts and statistics. So here you would have a collage of photographs, pictures, images, websites, and any cuttings out of newspapers or magazines. And similarly for number 2, you would be looking at one specific stage of the life cycle, not them all. The one that you have chosen to research, and you would find out as much information about that as you can. And for number 3 task, you would be looking specifically to the food allergy or food intolerance that you are researching and find out as much information about that food intolerance or food allergy as you can. So a collage of pictures, facts, statistics. If you are including facts, please make sure that they are Irish facts and that they're relevant to people who are reading this, not facts found in America or Australia. Okay? Now, number 5 are 3 possible solutions, and these are 3 menus. Now, it depends on your task. If it is task 1 you're doing, then you would have a lunch menu and an accompaniment with it. So you would have on, as you're heading in the centre, lunch menu, and you would have your lunch, your drink, and your suitable accompaniment. And you would have that done 3 times. So you'd have 3 examples of possible menus that would suit your task. If you are doing task 2, you must prepare, cook, and serve a complete main course. So you will have 3 main courses and a drink to go along with them that's nutritious. So for example, you might have macaroni and cheese served with garlic bread, and a glass of orange juice. Okay, end of story. Move on to menu 2. And if you are doing number 3, watch this one. You prepare, cook and serve a starter and a dessert. So you will have 3 different menus with a starter and a dessert on each one. Don't be giving choices on each menu. Just give what you're asked to give on each menu. And number the menu 1, menu 2, menu 3. There are 3 possibilities, and then number 6 is developing these possible solutions. So you will talk about menu 1 and why you have chosen those foods. You will talk about menu 2 and why you have chosen those foods, and the same for menu 3. And you will give a good solid reason relative to your task. So you may say there, I have chosen to put on my lunch menu here for task 1, I have chosen to put a quick homemade pizza made with yogurt and flour, or I have chosen to put down chicken fajitas and guacamole served with wedges, or I have chosen, and the reasons why you have chosen them relative to your specific task. Then you are going to present your ideas to others for feedback, and we'll look at that in class next week. So why did you choose each of those? And you'll get feedback from your friends and see what they think. Okay, so you do that there, and then you write down 3 or 4 bullet points of your main findings. What did your peers say to you? What did your teacher give you for a form of feedback? So what did other people give you as a form of feedback, and what were the main findings? And number 8, I have decided to make, so this is your decision. I have decided to make menu number whatever and the reasons. And you must give concrete reasons which are relative to your brief. So the reasons go right back to the point back here to number 3. And number 2. So because it suits my time, it suits my level of skill, it can be made in the time, it suits my brief because. And you give reasons for each point. And that is as far as you need to go, my class, for this Friday. And once you have that sorted, then you're filling in your task sheet on your chosen dish. But that's for next week. So they're just some simple guidelines and points to take into consideration when you are completing this form. And if you have any problems or any questions, please just give your teacher an email or a private message on Classroom and we'll get back to you. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.